sake of our state, doing nothing is not an option.
A somber and at times emotional State of the State address by Governor Janet Mills in Augusta tonight. The governor taking a different approach, delivering part of her address in writing this morning. Tonight's speech focused on crises facing our state, including the deadly Lewiston shootings. The governor even introduced new legislation she hopes closes gaps in our gun laws, strengthens our mental health system, and makes the state safer. Here's News Center Maine's Caroline LaCour.
But a State of the State address, true to its storied purpose, must be a reflection of the times.
A different approach to this year's State of the State to reflect a far from normal string of events Maine faced.
Maine people do not welcome crisis or disaster, but we will always rise to meet them.
Governor Janet Mills reserving her in-person address Tuesday evening to tackle immediate crises here in state.
We roll up our sleeves and we rebuild.
Such as the severe damage from storms statewide. To start, $5 million of the supplemental budget will go to fund a community resilience partnership with Maine towns, not only to pick up the pieces from damage, but to address any vulnerabilities in infrastructure.
Cities and towns across Maine are on the front lines of climate change, and these recent storms underscore the importance of fortifying them.
Looking towards the future, another $50 million taking from the state rainy day fund will address repairs and infrastructure upgrades for long-term resilience.
So it's that access to and from the water that becomes critical. And so now we're in a situation where we've got to restore that access. With
more fishermen needing to use federal waters to fish in the next upcoming months, Commissioner of Marine Resources says that extra funding could be a sigh of relief.
This isn't a harbor or two, right? This is every harbor that's been impacted.
Our calm complacency has been shaken to the core.
A major focus also went to recovering from the tragedy that took the lives of 18 Mainers in Lewiston, offering a three-pronged approach of a new injury and violence prevention program, a statewide crisis network, and a bolster of Maine's gun laws.
Many people felt it was unlikely to occur before October 25th. And honestly, the hope that it won't happen again is of little comfort to the children, the grandchildren, the wives.
The proposal would both strengthen protection order laws, implement and incentivize background checks for private gun sales, something Senate President Troy Jackson says could be a step in the right direction.
You know, there's got to be a way for gun owners, which I am, communities I represent, to come together and make things better.
Although these steps can make a brighter future, Mills notes the current strength and resilience Mainers have shown for their neighbors reflects
that the state of our state is strong.
In Augusta, Caroline LaCour, News Center, Maine.
In response to the governor's address, Republican leadership in Augusta say they're disappointed she didn't focus more on the economy.
You don't need to be an economist to recognize that when your bills are rising faster than your paychecks, it's harder to make ends meet for your family.
I wanted the governor to lower the tax and regulatory burden on Maine people. I wanted the governor to commit to lower electric rates by reversing the flow of money to out-of-state solar and wind corporations.
Earlier today, Governor Mills released the first part of her State of the State address to lawmakers in written form. In that document, the governor highlighted several issues, including the surplus the state is expecting to see in state revenue, along with ways to save that money and spend it on priorities like child care, housing, and drug recovery programs. I now want to bring in our political analysts, Democrat Betsy Sweet and Republican Garrett Mason. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess just right off the bat, this speech was not like other State of the State addresses. What stuck out to you the most, Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the bifurcated speech, a letter and a formal address, I think, you have to kind of bring both in. Maine people didn't see the economic piece of it. But, I think, one thing that we didn't hear from the governor on TV tonight was an economic message. I think a lot of Maine people are hurting. They are struggling with their power bill. They're struggling with their electricity bill. The governor talked about inflation in her letter to the legislature and to the people of Maine. Inflation may be cooling, it's slowing down, but we're still going to suffer the side effects of that for many, many years. So I think that is a piece that was really missed tonight, that Governor Mills didn't get the chance to deliver that message to the Maine people. So I was disappointed with that.
But Betsy, that was intentional.
Yeah, that was intentional because I think the gravity of what happened in Lewiston and the gravity of the storms, I think, was so intense that she felt it was really time to actually focus people's attention on that. If you look at what she said in her written speech, there's a lot of stuff about the economy there, both on a lot of the good things that are happening in Maine, a lot of really good things, job creation and low unemployment and those kinds of things, as well as some of the things that are challenging from a national scale. So I think she did a unique and different thing that really focused people sort of where their hearts are.
Yeah, specifically on gun legislation, she's introducing a proposal to strengthen mental health services in the state, close gaps in our so-called yellow flag law. Garrett, does that resonate with Republicans, and is she likely to get that support?
Yeah, I think what you saw tonight was the Janet Mills that campaigned in 2018. I think this is a very, she could have gone a lot of different directions with a proposal like this, but I think this is she's thought a lot about it. She put something forward. I think, Republicans are really going to love the mental health aspect. That's something that they've been talking about since this tragedy happened. I think, the centers, like the one here in Portland, the one that she plans to open in Lewiston, I think that's an appropriate step, and I personally would love to see where that goes. As far as the other pieces of it, I think, the problem is always going to come down to the red flag logs. Is there due process? What kind of process is that going to go through? Is this going to be 3 different proposals, or is it going to be one proposal? That could be a big thing too.
And I think one of the things, the biggest thing that she said actually is not any of the proposals, but is a shift in how we look at gun violence, taking it from a criminal issue to looking at it as a public health issue. And that alone is a huge shift. I wish she would do the same thing on drug policy, but I think that's a big shift. The elephant in the room that was not discussed was the assault weapons ban, which is something that many Mainers, majority of Mainers support. A 72-hour waiting period that would really look at the biggest gun issue in Maine, which is suicide, would help with that. And this yellow flag law, it's definitely an improvement, but it does not deal with the ability of a family member to go forward. It still requires that you take someone into protective custody, and that's the problem. And so I think, again, she opened a fantastic door. She clearly has thought a lot about it, talked to a lot of people. It's going to be a great conversation, and I think you'll see some different kind of movement from the legislature. I think maybe from both sides.
All right, Garrett Mason, Betsy Sweet, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for our entire State of the State roundup, you can head on over to our News Center Maine app. There you can read the governor's full address, the Republican response, and the reviews from our political analysts. It's free to download in your app store. Be sure to sign up for alerts too.